It's Saturday, mid to late afternoon. I've been running around all day, but I'm finally getting to the garden. And so let's take a look at some things. The plants, for lack of a better term, are really starting to pop here. So I'm very happy. I finally labeled everything yesterday. I had to go back and look at my videos and see what I had documented, and I had never actually put the labels up. So let's see, we've got the spaghetti squash. We've got 2 of those. We've got 1 of the scallop squash. Nothing in the lemon cucumber here, but we do have 1 over here. Moving on to the other, we've got the baby watermelon, nothing. And then we got the 2 squash, the old squash seeds that I had from last year. I've got 2 on the top and 3 on the bottom there, so that's not too bad. And we've got some marigold I picked up, so I can fill in a couple of dead spots. Other than that, the beans are doing pretty well, and I'm seriously thinking about transplanting a few of these into a larger container now so they can start to really grow. And I bought some other stuff at the 99-cent store that I think I can use along with some of the materials I had last year to try and build a sort of a trellis. So I'll show you that once I get it built. These 2 pots really have not gone anywhere, and they were the squash from last year, which is what I've got down here. So at this point they're almost a lost cause. I may actually transplant other things into these pots. Moving over, these 2 beans, which I transplanted a while back. I don't know, some of the leaves have died off and some new leaves are popping up. I think that's actually normal, although they don't look like they're growing quite as well as some of the ones back there. So we'll see. I'll make some decision on that. The lima bean is still surviving here. The old leaves are really dying off, so I'm probably just going to clip them off and stick with the smaller, newer leaves that are surviving. Gave the tomatoes some milk yesterday, and let's see what we've got here. I don't know if I've quite got a good enough view there. I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to wait a few days and see where they go. Meanwhile, though, if I just kind of step back from it, forgive the air conditioner, it's looking very green and lush, so maybe that's a good sign. And there's more leaves down below, which are still picking up some sun, even though they're blocked mostly by this one. So, I don't know. I think they've got a lot of little things to do this weekend. We'll see what I come up with. Well, something I was nervous about finally happened. The semicircular planter there finally fell off the railing. Oddly enough, if you look, this is still intact. That was one of the ties that was holding it on. So if you look real close, you can see this is cracked here. It literally, the tie held, but the planter broke. So I'm going to end up taking these and transplanting them into this nice big long one. And I think what I'm going to do is take this, and instead of mounting it up like this, with more ties like that, I'm actually going to mount it down a level. It's one advantage of the way they did the railing here. I can mount it down a level where it's actually sitting on this railing here, so that gives it some support, and then I will tie it back. There's another one back here. I'll tie it back to this one, which is pretty much the arrangement I've got with all the other planters up here, where they're tied to this rail, but they're sitting on this rail. So that's what I'm going to have to do. I wasn't sure I wanted to do that today, but now that it's fallen, I want to make sure the plants survive the fall and everything, and I'll just transplant those in and figure out what else I'm going to put into that one long box. Okay, so thankfully today I went and picked up some garden soil. Wasn't necessarily planning on transplanting everything today or doing all of that work, but I wanted to have the soil. I would happen to be out running around, so you know, it just made sense. And then that sucker fell. But here's the new little thing that I just discovered. While I put all the soil in here in preparation, okay, so as I was saying before, I got the memory card full message. I can't quite lift this sucker up because it's got the dirt in it, but if I can sort of demonstrate, if I try to put it on here and against the back of here, let me see if I can rotate the camera up a little bit. Hang on, let me move that out of the way. You can see the bottom of the other planter is right here, and basically the problem is this one's just a little too tall. If I try and put that in all the way back, it bumps up against the edge of I'm losing my shot here. Against the edge of this. So I'm not going to be able to put it in all the way, but that's okay. It's going to be hanging out a little bit, which is what I kind of want, because I want to have, as I look down here, I want it to be exposed that much more so I can get that much more planting in and have that much more exposed to the sun. And hopefully what will happen ultimately is it'll start to climb up along here and start growing. We'll see. Oh, and one more thing. I drilled holes. I have to put them somewhat near the top so I can actually use the cable ties to secure it to the railing. Okay, so that's what it looks like mounted. And the cable ties from the others. Okay, still Saturday. It's almost 5 p.m. The sun's headed down and the air conditioner finally shut off. And here's the end product. We've got peas on the outside. We got the pole beans on the inside, and I threw in the marigold just for measure, because everything seems to like marigold. It's known as the gardener's friend. So we'll see how this all works out. I also put in some poles. That was one of the surprises from the 99-cent store. They actually had these suckers 5 for $1, a bundle of 5. So this worked out really nicely. I'm going to try and train these plants up, and then hopefully they will work their way up to the top. And just in time to close, here's our friend Smokey. Okay, so it's Sunday late morning, and I wanted to come out and kind of see how things are doing. Everything is kind of pretty much as it was yesterday, but I also wanted to see the new planter and see where things stood with that. So let's take a look here. I realized that it's not quite getting as much sun as I wanted it to get. And now let me remove this and I'll explain that in a minute. But you can see that there's not a lot of direct sunlight right on those leaves. I'm getting a little bit on the marigold. There's some leaves up near the top of each of the pea plants, and those are getting some sun, but the beans down below aren't getting a whole lot of sun, and my concern was after transplanting them that they're just going to die because they're not getting much sun. So I got to thinking, I was trying to find materials I already have, and following the whole budget idea, I came up with something that's really cheesy but may help. And you can see that I'm adding a bit of light here, and all that is a piece of tin foil on an old hanger. And then I drilled a little hole right up in there, right up at the front of the box, so I could then put this. It's kind of hard to do it with one hand. There we go. I can put that in. Of course, it falls a little bit. And actually, I found out, in addition to everything else, kind of like a weather vane, it's going to kind of blow in the wind. Of course, now on cue, it's going to keep falling while I'm trying to show this. But even when it does fall, let's just show it kind of in its fallen position. But you can see there's light getting into these leaves now. So this is really cheesy. This is a first attempt at this, and I'll see if I can come up with something that looks a little bit nicer. Okay, here's my solution. I just put just enough masking tape to put a little tension on it. That should keep it from falling over. I mean, except maybe in a really high wind. But it should keep it pretty stable. It still allows it to flex a little bit, as you might see there. Here comes the wind. So I suppose the added benefit of having it flex like that is it'll move the reflection around, move the light around a little bit, and if it doesn't get to all the leaves in one position, then when it moves it may get more leaves.